Blog Talk Radio.
You are listening to Shriekfest Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Shriekfest Radio. This is Denise Gossett, the festival founder and director, and your host for the day. Let's see, Shriekfest Radio has been around for 8 years now. I cannot even believe it. It's kind of crazy. Where does the time go? And even crazier, Shriekfest has been around for 20 years. This is the 20th year, guys. I cannot believe it. It'll be 4th year in Orlando, so mark these dates down. The Shriekfest LA is October 1st through the 4th, Shriekfest Orlando, November 7th. Get your projects in. Our next cutoff date is March 1st. So we take features and short films, feature and short scripts, music videos, in all categories of horror, thriller, sci-fi, fantasy. And we added new categories this year. So we have some Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Cinematography, Best Editing. So that's kind of cool, along with our other 10 categories. So check all that out on our website, shriekfest.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Come say hello. Our next Shriekfest Presents is coming up next month. We can't announce it yet because it's not totally finalized, but it's going to be a good one, so keep an eye out. We have a newsletter you can sign up for on our website. Today's call-in number, if you have a question for myself or my guest, is 516-531-9858. 516-531-9858. And if you have a question, but you're too shy to be on the air and you want it answered, you can always tweet at Shriekfest or email at shriekfest.com, and I will periodically glance at those so we can get your questions answered. I am super excited about today's guest. He is a production coordinator, a producer, a writer, a screenwriter. His name is Nick Rufca, and in 2010 he was a finalist at Shriekfest, and in 2019 he won Best Thriller Feature Screenplay for his screenplay Agriturismo. Welcome to Shriekfest Radio, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Denise. How are you doing?
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm super excited because I want to find out. Now, did I say the script title right, Agriturismo?
You did. Agriturismo. Even I can't say it. Yes, you said it right.
Because it was funny because at the award show, we have different companies sponsor the awards, and he looked down at it and looked at me, and I was like, okay, I'll say it. He could not figure out how to say it.
You did it justice. Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so why don't we start, how did you get into this business? You've got loads of credits on IMDb, working on all kinds of cool things. What got you started?
So I always wanted to work in the movies, and growing up, I always thought I wanted to be a director, and I also loved writing, and it wasn't until college where I realized, I went to film school. I went to film school at Florida State University, which is a great program, and what's so great about it is you get to try your hands at all the different positions on the film. We took editing classes and cinematography classes, and you were grips and gaffers on our projects and production designers. So you got to try your hand at everything. And it was in film school where I realized that the two areas that I gravitated to and felt the most fulfilled in were writing and producing. So I moved out to LA to pursue both at the same time. I thought that my original intention was I will write, and if no one produces my writing, one day I will know how to produce it myself.
Excellent.
And so I sort of started on those two tracks, and over the years, producing has become what's paid the bills, to be honest, and writing has just become something I've never stopped doing because I love it.
That's amazing. Now, when you were in school, did you write a lot? Did you love English class because you got to write?
I did. I loved English, and then later in college, I loved screenwriting, and I always wrote dark stuff.
Really?
So even before I sort of really clicked in, maybe as an adult, I think horror is my is what I'm going to lock in on. Back in high school, my English, creative writing classes and my essays and our short stories that we got to write, mine were always like dark and violent.
Oh, wow. Did anybody call your parents and say, okay, we're a little concerned?
So many times. Like if you look at my.
I thought you were going to say no. That's hilarious.
No, everyone always. I think the reaction is like, you seem so nice. What's going on? What's going on at the surface? And even with this one, like when I gave acatrizumab to friends, I still had that same reaction. Like, what is wrong with you? You are sick. But I've always. Great. That's what's great about horror is I feel like you can take all the dark thoughts and even for me, like take all the fears you have in life and put it into your work and kind of face it that way, which is what I always loved about horror. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so then, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say when you were asking me how I got my start, I got to LA and just my first job. I happened to run into someone from my film school, and Family Guy was looking for a PA. And I started on that show, and that just sort of, I think everyone who works in Hollywood, like, your first job sort of sets you on your path. And so I went from...
that's crazy, Nick.
I went from TV to movies, and now I'm in the digital space producing.
So it was because it was a guy you knew from film school who hooked you up.
Yeah, but it's funny because it wasn't, when I got here, I sent resumes and tried to look up everyone I knew because I landed here alone. Like I didn't live out here with anyone. And then I just happened to run into an alumni from Florida State out at a bar that I didn't even know that well. We became friends later, but I just told him I had just gotten here and he was on Family Guy. And this was back when no one watched Family Guy, so I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
But yeah, that was my first job.
Oh my gosh, how exciting. So when you called your parents up and said, I've got a job, were they like, no way? Like, how did it happen that quick,
Yeah, I mean, I think my parents have always been supportive, but they were also, Hollywood is such a confusing thing to explain to people who haven't worked here. So I think they were more confused that I went to film school and I didn't come out here set up with a job. They're like, you have your degree now. Like, don't you apply to places and you get your job before you move out to LA? And it was more like, actually, I have to get out there. I have to meet people, and I'm going to start at the bottom. And so, yes, I probably landed Family Guy maybe 2 months after I moved here. So they were very happy. And then they had no idea what that show was. So it's been a whole process, even up till now, of explaining what I do to my parents, but they've always been very supportive.
That's great. Most people, of course, it does not happen in 2 months. And there's difficulties with it happening so quickly, too. Like, did you find yourself going, now what?
Oh, yeah. Definitely when I got to LA and many times since. But yeah, I think, it's I don't know many people who would argue that it isn't always a hustle, no matter how successful you are. And so, that was my first job. It was very low paying. Like it was, PA jobs are always entry-level salary, but this was 20 years ago. So that was, I can't believe what I survived on and still managed to pay rent and still have fun. But, so even once you get that first job, there was no sigh of relief. Like you kind of always like, well, what's next? Where do I go from here? How do I get to this? So always an adventure.
I would like to add that if you don't feel that is when your career will start to tank, because we must always be hustling and looking for the next thing. Not that we're looking for something better, but that we're looking to go up that ladder more.
Right. Very true. Very true.
So I love that you talked about how you kind of in school you tried your hand in everything. And I'm a big proponent for you don't necessarily have to go to film school to write or direct or whatever it may be. However, you do have to go to the school of film. You got to at least be on sets and learn things like you did, trying your hand a little bit in everything, and that is the best way to be the best director, producer, whatever, because you have been in those shoes. You know what those people are going through, and in turn you treat them better because you already know how horrible that particular job could be.
I completely agree. And actually, I think that's like the best thing about being a PA or starting out is you sort of get to really observe all the different positions coming together. Like at least I know in feature films, which is where I worked for most of my time out here, like you interact. There's many departments that are isolated and they're kind of brought together under the director, and they have to work together. But I think when you're in the production office, which is where I was, you get to see all those departments come together and you get to work with them all. And really, if you're smart, you observe them all. So you can really, so that it really was like film school was one thing, but definitely like working on films was a whole nother education I needed.
Right. Now, you went to Florida State. Did you grow up in Florida?
Okay. I did not. I grew up in Connecticut, and then my family, we moved out to a Chicago suburb when I was in high school. And then I think moving in high school sort of gave me, I always credit that move because when it happened, I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever, like switching high schools between sophomore and junior year. But then I realized I was able to start over and it was okay, and I made new friends, and it was kind of exciting once it was all done. So then when I was trying to figure out where I was going to go next after high school, I wasn't afraid to go far and go to a school where I didn't know anyone again. And then in turn, when I moved out to LA, I didn't really know anyone. So like it kind of moving around sort of helped me out that way. But yeah, I applied to a bunch of, I knew I wanted to work in movies, and I just thought you had to go to college, and I'm going to major in what I want to do. So I just looked at film schools across the country, and Florida State's program at the time, this is in the 90s, it was relatively new, and they were really building it up because they wanted to build the film industry up in Florida. So it was, it's grown so much more since I've graduated, but they paid for our film. Like we didn't have to raise money to make our project. So we had so many tools. I didn't realize how grateful I should have been at the time. But so then I went to Florida, and after that came right out to LA.
So shortly after you graduated, you came to LA?
Yeah, as soon as I graduated. I couldn't wait to come out to LA. I was restless.
Well, Florida State, we get submissions every year from there, and the films are phenomenal, and partly because you guys are learning great stuff, but like you said, they pay for everything. Yeah,
we were very fortunate to have a program where that money was used to support a lot of the budgets on our projects.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm excited about Agriturismo. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, it was twofold. I am a food writer on the side, so I write for a magazine called Westways, which is the AAA magazine of Southern California. Yeah. So if anyone's a AAA member that's listening, they get it with their membership. So I have a column in there called The Dish. All right, well, look for my every issue. I've got a story called The Dish where I'm not a restaurant critic, but I write about dishes and food, and I just love food. And that being a freelance writer in the food world has been very interesting because you're kind of brought into this world of other food bloggers and influencers and other writers. And it's fascinating. Like you get to go to all these dinners because restaurants who have PR firms working for them want to invite media to their openings, so to create buzz. So I am fortunate where I get to go to these dinners and meet with all these people who write and kind of worship food, and it's just it's very interesting to me. Like there's always this sort of the conversation because that's the common ground. Everyone's trying to talk about the craziest, most interesting dish they have or an outrageous food adventure, and sort of in like a fun way, like one-up each other a little bit. Like, who's ever gone to this restaurant that's just opened, like, we all want to hear what that experience was. So I just thought that was a fascinating world to me. And then on the other hand, in 2016, I got to go to Italy to work on a film production. And we were in a town, the closest town to us was called Barga, which is actually in my script. And it's this very small Italian village that's, you know, just got like the fortress outside of it. And you enter this wall and it almost feels like a human maze. And it's beautiful, but because it's so small, like it really empties out at night. And it could almost be creepy. And I love that atmosphere. And then when that film was wrapped, I drove around Italy for a couple of weeks on my own, and I stayed at agriturismos, which are, you know, they're often working farms. Sometimes they're former farms that they've converted into accommodations. But you can stay there, and the ones I stayed at, there was, you know, there's different types. There's ones where you could take cooking classes, and there's animals on the ground. And there's other ones where that's not really a part of it, but you're staying in the old converted farm. And I wasn't there during the height of tourist season. I think this was maybe March, April. And there was two places where at least I felt like I was the only one there. And just also traveling solo around a different country, like my mind was just spinning. So I was like, I want to do a horror script that takes this feeling of being in this beautiful foreign country, but that where I'm often alone. And I want to combine it with some sort of like food world story, and sort of make it like a Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, like feel gone wrong.
Wow.
So that's how I came up with it. And so yes, for those who don't know, like the script is a chef from San Francisco is sent by her boss over to an agriturismo to sort of reconnect with her passion for cooking, and there are something is amiss at this agriturismo she's staying at.
That's great. So it was your combination of writing for AAA and actually being there and seeing them that brought on this idea. Now, how long did it take you to write it?
Let's see. I feel like I outlined it and finished the first draft in a year. And then I was sending it out to friends and readers for feedback and doing rewrites maybe 6 months after that. So I feel like a year and a half from beginning to end, and also doing it around my job. So,
sure.
Yeah. So I think by the time I sort of stamped like, okay, this is ready to go, and actually Shriekfest was the first place I sent it, was right at your deadline. Yeah. It was a benchmark goal. Like I wanted to get to Shriekfest, so
that is awesome. And then you won.
Yeah. And then I won, and it was it's been amazing. And you were the first, not only the first festival I entered, because I entered a few after that. You were the first one I also heard from. So, you know, like I felt really good about the script, but then you never know. Like, and so to have you not only, you know, select it, but also what was so great, and I could say this now, I've entered a few festivals, is to have you write me directly and say, like, this is great. It was like a very needed push.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you write, do you picture any particular actors in the roles, or do you just write?
You know, I just write. I have an image in my head of what the characters look like, but I don't think I've ever cast it in my head. And I kind of wish I could, because I always like when I hear that story. Like of course the stories are always like when they get that cast member, but I always like the idea of like, oh, this is perfect for right. But no, I don't have anyone in mind. I know what I want that actress to be in the lead, and I know, you know, there's her boss who's sort of like the celebrity chef in San Francisco. I know I want that to be a part for a 50-something male star, you know, but no, I don't specifically cast in my head.
It's probably better, though, because then if you don't get who you wrote it for, you're not bummed out.
Yes, that is. I agree.
Because odds are, slim that they're going to be available or want to work for whatever price you have, or whatever it may be.
Right. It's just always so nice when you hear that. Like I don't know how much it is just a story. Like if you happen to get Sigourney Weaver, then maybe you just say, "I always wanted Sigourney Weaver."
Right.
So maybe if this gets made, you'll hear me singing a different tune. But
right, I'll be like,
yeah,
that is not what he told me.
Right,
oh my gosh,
exactly.
Mom's the word. If I hear it, I won't say a word.
Thank you.
We'll let Sigourney feel really, really good.
Yeah.
So what advice would you tell other screenwriters trying to start out?
Well, I guess the first advice is, I think, probably common advice, but never stop writing. I've never stopped, no matter how hard it's been for me. The challenge has always been around the day job. So
sure.
It's very hard to write when you're working a 12 to 14 to 16 hour day, which is what the world of filmmaking is. But but what I would, you find a way to do it, and there is inevitably a sacrifice, like whether it's weekends or you're staying up a little late or you're taking time between jobs if you're freelance to write and not just lay around on the couch, then that's a sacrifice. But I do believe if it's what you love, you're going to do it.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Do you know how many people go, but I can't. I work 2 jobs, and I've got kids, and I've got this, and I go, then you don't really want it.
Right, because it's ultimately, if you're meant to be a writer, especially if you're not getting paid, like it should be fun, and so I think it can be a task, like I definitely am like,
sure.
I've got to sit down. But once I sit down and write, I am enjoying it. And so I hope that everyone who's out there who is aiming to be a writer, that they're enjoying it at like the ground level. Because if you're not enjoying it, and especially if you're not enjoying it when you're not getting paid for it, like I don't know, like if that's all you have. Like I'm not.
Right.
There's many screenplays I've written that haven't sold. I'm not sitting there at the forefront of my mind saying this is for this amount of money. Like I'm just doing it because I like it, and then I hope it's going to be good because I like it.
Yes. Yes.
And then I think also like, and this is something I've sort of learned later in life, and I'm still trying to teach myself, and even with the script, is like you are your own best marketer. So I network yourself and I'm starting to keep a spreadsheet of everyone I meet who could possibly be someone you give a script to, that even if they aren't the producer, like they might know someone who is. So
exactly,
every time
that
I hear
is
someone
great advice.
Yeah. So
because seriously, you never know. I've had people come out of the blue and offer me a role, and I'm like, what? Like you just never know. And it's because I kept in touch with that person.
It's totally true. And I actually sort of pulled that from my production life, because I would always tell PAs that keep your crew list, network with everyone on that film.
Yeah.
Like, don't just worry about who your immediate boss or who was in your department. Get to know other departments, because I have gotten so many jobs because afterwards I reached out to the costume designer.
Right.
You may happen to know someone. So, if you're in the film business or whatever, like network, keep contact with people you connect with, and reach out.
Yes, I agree. Are you there? Did we lose you? Uh-oh. Okay, we lost him. Hopefully he's calling right back. Nick, are you there? Try giving a call back in. But what he was saying is excellent advice. Guys, even if you write a quarter of a page a day, at the end of the year you're going to have a script. You're going to have a rough draft, which you can continue to work on, but at least the momentum is going forward, and that is the most important thing. So And, if you're not finding time to do what it is you want to do, maybe you don't really want it, and that is okay. I like to tell people that, too, that it's okay if you decide you need to move on. And no one is saying, oh, gosh, well, you failed because you decided to move on. No. We all change our minds on what we want in life, and that's all that happened to you. Oh, I think we have him back.
Yeah.
Nick, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay! Okay, yay! We got him back.
I hope I didn't get cut off. Yeah. It just went silent, but well.
Yes. So before we run out of time, where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, and I'm on Instagram, so you can look me up by Nick Rufca, and also Facebook and Twitter, all under my name. And and I'm currently my producing job is with some YouTube content creators called the Try Guys, so you could find my producing work through their YouTube channel.
Nice. Now, what are you currently writing something right now?
I am just starting a new script. I'm just in the very beginnings of the outline phase.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, while we lost you, I was basically telling everyone that, even if you write a quarter of a page a day, at the end of the year you're going to have a rough draft.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that and force yourself to do it, you're not going to have a script at the end of the year. So why not have the script?
Yes, exactly.
Even if it sucks, you can rewrite, but at least it's started. The momentum.
Yeah. Just getting ideas out of your head and onto paper is so lovely.
Yes.
It just gives you, it takes it from a daydream into something tangible.
Yes. Yeah, because if your dream is just in your head, it's not really a goal. It's not going anywhere. Write them down. If it intimidates you, break it down into baby steps and start. And now, is this new one you're starting on, is it dark too?
It's so dark. It's called Scratches. I know that. Yeah. It's all I know. No, I actually love all different kinds of movies. But
did you have a rough life, Nick?
I really don't think I have. I look back and
I know it doesn't sound like you have.
Yeah. But sometimes I think I think that's kind of what intrigues me too, is life has been good. I know, but I love the idea of what's going on under the surface. Even when things are good and rosy and sunshine, there's always a darkness. So I love exploring that, and I love watching that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to wish you the best of luck with this new script and all your jobs you are working on, and I will check out the Try Guys YouTube page and see what's going on with that, because it sounds like that is very successful.
Yeah, it's successful. It's definitely not horror, but it's a lot of fun. It's comedy, but it's also it's pretty inspiring. It's the central theme is trying new things, which I could get behind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they're a lot of fun to work with. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. And I look forward to this next script. Hopefully it will be coming to Shriekfest at some point so I can take a look.
You know it will.
All right, Nick, you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to talk with you soon.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, guys, that was amazing. See, there is someone that is doing things, getting it done, and still pursuing his dream. You have to find little ways. Seriously, I don't care if you get one sentence out on your script a day, then you're going to have a whole bunch at the end of the year. Just keep pushing forward. If it's in you and you have to get it out, you've got to do it. Don't let it sit in there. We never know what's going to happen in life, and I want to make sure you're getting your dreams and your goals accomplished. So continue writing, continue making films, continue. Write it down, think about it, dream about it, work at it. All right, guys, you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here next time.
You are listening to Shriekfest Radio.